Hi you guys, I'm making this video because I feel that this is a very important message and I'm feeling it right now, so I just felt it was important to make. This isn't a craft related video, so if that's what you were looking for, I'm sorry that that's not what this is. As most of you know that watch my videos regularly, me and my husband Scott have custody of our two granddaughters, Haley and Brooklyn. We've had custody for almost 6 years of them, and it's been a pretty bumpy road. It was a bumpy road getting custody of them, and it's been a bumpy road ever since then with both of their parents, quite frankly. My son, my biological son, is their father. Scott is not his biological father, and they don't have a father-son relationship at all. And this situation wasn't a good situation for the girls when they came to us. It's very, very hard for grandparents to get custody of their grandchildren, especially from the mother. So you know that the circumstances had to be pretty grim for us to get custody in the first place. Well, Friday things went south really quickly. Out of fear for the girls and to keep them safe, I had made arrangements with the mother that she agreed that we were going to meet on Saturday for her visitation so that she could spend some time with them at a park instead of her taking them for the weekend. And suddenly all of that changed when she decided that she was going to take them on the weekend, and she got the police involved, and I stood my ground. It wasn't a cat and mouse fight for me. Nothing in my life is ever cat and mouse. I don't live my life to where I can get one up on somebody. That's not what life is about for me. My goal is to keep those little girls safe. I rearranged my entire life for those girls. And that's my priority. Those little girls are my priority. In everything I do in my life, I have my priorities straight. My number one priority in life is God. That's number one. Number two is my marriage, my husband, Scott. Number three are those little girls. And that's the way that, biblically, that's the way that it's supposed to be. If I don't have a relationship with God, my priorities can't be straight. If I don't have a strong relationship with my husband and I don't put our relationship second, nothing else falls into place. And if I don't put those girls third on that list, then what really matters in life? I know that that sounds harsh to some people to prioritize things like that. Some people say, oh, your kid should be first. Oh, your kid should be before your husband. But when you prioritize your life and put God first, your husband or your spouse second, and your children third, you're not prioritizing favoritism. You're prioritizing your life. That this has to be first, this has to be second, and this has to be third in order for everything to be perfect in your life, for everything to fall correctly in your life. You're not saying that I love my children more than I love my husband, or you're not saying that I love God more than I love my husband or my children. That's not what it is. You can't take God and put him third in the pyramid. He always has to be first, and then second, and then third, and then fourth, and then fifth. That's how you prioritize things. So, with that being said, and that I've explained that, I hope you have a better understanding. I don't love one more or less, but that is how things are prioritized in my life. And that just helps me put things into perspective, so to speak, if you understand what I'm saying. That's how I'm able to put my life into perspective. And you'll understand that as this story comes to conclusion. So, Friday, I get a text saying that she's coming to pick up the girls to please have them ready. At that point, I knew that things were probably going to go south. I knew that she was going to come, and I knew it was probably going to go two different ways. Either she was going to come and knock on the door and realize that we weren't home and leave, or that she was going to get the police involved. My suspicion was that it would be the second, that she would get the police involved. I didn't want to expose the girls to any of it. I didn't want to expose them to the fact that their mom was here and I wasn't answering the door, or if I answered the door that she would be yelling at me and causing a scene in front of them. I didn't want to expose them to any of that. So I told the girls we're going to go to the Dollar Tree. So I had put a note on the door for her, explaining the reasons why I wasn't going to allow them to go with her until these things were fixed while they were with her. And there are very specific things, and they were already things in which I had discussed with her on the phone, and she had agreed with, and she understood it, and she knew. I mean, she agreed that those things needed to be fixed, and she wanted my help with it, and she completely understood it and agreed with it. And thank God I recorded that entire conversation. She even asked me to help her with her parenting skills and said that she would take parenting classes. And I mean, she admitted her faults in parenting and admitted her faults with situations that had happened with the girls while in her care. And so I just reiterated that in a note and put it on the door. And she went to the police station or called the police, or I don't know. I wasn't here, so I don't know how it all came down. And I was at McDonald's with the girls. They were playing at the play place, and we were just enjoying, talking with friends, and they were playing at the play place, and a officer calls me and says, "You need to return the girls." He didn't ask me why I wasn't complying with the court order, and I even tried to explain to him that the girls weren't safe, and I tried to get it in, as to why I was doing it, and that there was a case with Golden about the previous visitation with the dog bite, and that the girls weren't safe, and I was waiting for that case to be finished because they told me that they were sending it over to social services and all of that. And he didn't care. He didn't care one bit. And he asked me, he said, "Are you going to bring the girls back so she could take them?" And I said, "No, sir, they're not safe." And he said, "Okay, I'm going to issue a warrant for your arrest." And I'm sure that those of you out there that are parents and as grandparents can understand that my safety wasn't a concern. My thought was with the girls. And honestly, we would die for our kids, right? I would die for these girls without hesitation. And that's where I was. At that point, I was like, it's my job to protect them, right? They're given to us. God gives us these children, and we have to protect them. I would literally die for them. I would stand in front of anybody who is trying to harm them and have my life ended if it meant saving them. And so that's where I was at that time, and I said, then issue the warrant, because I'm not going to put them in harm's way. I then got on the phone with my husband, who had spoke with a couple of people that know the law, and they said no, it's a civil matter, and I'm not going to get, it's all going to be in the hands of the courts at this point and attorneys, so I can't say a whole lot about any of that. But I decided on my own that no, I wasn't going to, and I called him back, and then he told me that he was going to charge me with a felony. And so at this point I had a choice. He said, you have a choice. Either you can come back to Fort Lupton and turn the girls over to the mother, or I'm going to issue a felony warrant for your arrest. And I said, I still could not fathom turning them over to this unfit parent, and visions are going through my head that if something happens to the girls while they're in her care, God forbid, that's my hand. I allowed that to happen to them, and I couldn't release them. So I told him, issue the warrant. At this point, I didn't know if he was bluffing or if it was really going to happen. I think deep down in my heart, I knew probably that I was going to be arrested. I didn't think that they were going to rip the girls from their home and hand it over to her. But that is exactly what happened. My husband got home from work and he called, and we have some friends in law enforcement, and they checked the system and said, no, there's no warrant. We called this officer back 3 times and he wouldn't return our call. There were no cops around our house. A couple people checked the system and said, no, there's no warrant. So my husband said, come home. It was like 9:30 at night. So I figured that the police may be watching for me on Main Street. We live in a very small town, and there's really one road into town. So I avoided it. I avoided Main Street and came to our house, the back roads, just in case they, could be watching for my car. And, kind of like waiting for me to get home. I pulled into the driveway, got the kids out of the van. We had some sacks from the Dollar Tree. I let them get some. Haley got some fairy wings and a skirt, and Brooke picked out a Barbie dress and a crown and a wand. And I let them get some candy. And we were carrying our bags from the Dollar Tree, and they had their little McDonald's Happy Meal boxes, and then our friend each some freshly baked cookies from McDonald's. So we were gathering up, they had their water bottles and stuff, so we were gathering up all of that stuff and bringing it in. And I had also taken my dog. So Ruby, our dog, had jumped out of the car. I was actually on the phone with Mom. I'm home safe. And because that's the way that our friendship is. She just always wants to make sure that we're safe and that we got home and everything was okay. I'm telling her I'm on the phone. I'm saying, no, I'm home safe. I'm getting the girls out and we're going inside. Scott's home. Scott had just pulled back up because he had met me over by where I pulled into town, just, to kind of drive behind me to make sure everything was okay. I said, nope, Scott's pulling into the driveway. Everything's completely fine. I'm just going to go in and get the girls situated, get them ready for bed. And so then I hear these other voices. I hear Scott talking about the dog. So I hung up the phone, and Scott said, Kim, you need to come over. They want to talk to you. And here my arms are full with bags and McDonald's Happy Meal boxes, and Brooke is holding on to Papa's leg, just scared to death when she saw the officers. And kids are attuned to all of this. They knew that at McDonald's, even though their attention was at the play place, and they still knew that we were talking about things, and they heard me on the phone with the police officer and with Papa. And kids are attuned. They know that things are going on, and we're talking about my possibility of being arrested, and they know what that means, and they were scared, that Grandma might go to jail. And you're trying to calm them down, and then when they see these cops bombard us in our front yard, their thought is they're there to harm us. And so she's holding on to Papa's leg, and she's scared to death. And so I got her, to come with me into the house, and they were crying, and I'm like, let's go in. And Scott's like, they want to talk to you. I said, they can wait. I need to go get the girls situated. So I brought them in the house, got them situated. I'm like, let's go turn on the TV and you guys can watch a movie. They didn't want to do that. They wanted to stay right there in the front room and know what was going on. So I had to go back out. So I automatically grabbed my camera because I wanted to record the conversation. I knew you wouldn't be able to see anything, but I wanted to record the conversation. And so I turned on the camera and I went out the door, and as soon as I got to the driveway, they're putting Scott in handcuffs. And I was like, what is going on? So I came back in the house and locked the door. And I got on the phone with a friend of ours. And as soon as I got on the phone, I hear this bang, 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 like serious knocking. And then the girls just... I'm sorry. They just start screeching in fear. I asked our friend, I'm like, what do I do? Do I answer the door? And he's like, Kim, if you don't answer the door, they're going to knock it down. And then it did. It sounded like it was shaking, like the door was going to get, like it was going to break. The door jamb was seriously going to break. So I said, I'm going to open it. As soon as I opened it, I had the phone to my ear, and the officer said, you need to step outside and put the phone down. And we have a little table, a little patio set sitting by our front door. So I set the phone down, but I didn't turn it off. And he reached over and pushed the end call button. He told me to shut the big door, and the girls were screaming. It was so hard for me to shut the door on them. I had to shut the door in their faces. Tragically, like, their fearfully scream, like screech, like not a whimper or a normal cry. It was like terror, like they were in terror. We have a piano in front of the window, so they can't see, and they can't see what's going on, because there's no way for them to see because the piano's in front of the window, and then the window to the door is up high, so you can't see. And so they couldn't see, which is a blessing, because then they couldn't see me getting handcuffed. So they handcuffed me, and the whole time I could hear them as they're walking me. I could hear them, and I said, "You're not going to leave them in there like that, are you?" And I said, "They're scared to death. Please don't just leave them in there." And he said, we'll be right here. We're all going to be right outside the door. I said, "They're so scared. Just please don't leave them locked in there like that." And then they walked me across the street to one of the cop cars. So I couldn't see the house. At that point, I really couldn't feel my own discomfort. I mean, I knew I was in discomfort. I mean, your hands are handcuffed behind your back, and this cop had no mercy. My handcuffs were really tight, and it doesn't even, my discomfort really wasn't a concern. My concern was the girls. I knew Scott was in the back of the other police car, and I was in a police car, and it was like forever. Like, I have no idea how long we were in the backs of the police cars, and then the cops come in the car, and then they jump back out of the car, and then they come in the car. But after they put me in the car, this officer, his name is Doug Perry, comes over, and he reads me my Miranda rights. So at that point, I knew I was arrested. I knew there was no point in even talking. You know, if they put you in handcuffs and they are just going to question you, they're not going to read you your Miranda rights. But he says, "Do you want to talk to us?" And I said no. At that point, I knew I was going to jail. I knew that whatever I said wasn't going to get me out of it. I knew that anything that I said at that point, it was just going to be a cat and mouse against me and my husband. Whatever he said, they would go and twist it and coerce it, and, you know, tell him one thing and me another thing, and try to get our stories to conflict. That's what they're trained to do. You know, he might try to protect me, I might try to protect him. And then, you know, it's just, once your Miranda rights have been read to you, you're done, you're going. There's nothing that's going to unarrest you. You're arrested, you're done, you're going. So I said no. I had nothing to say at that point. So I honestly just sat in the back of that police car, as uncomfortable as it is, and I just kept thinking of Jesus, honestly. I just kept thinking about how he was prosecuted. And I just kept saying, "You were prosecuted, I am prosecuted. You were prosecuted, I am prosecuted." And that's really all I did, you know. I kept saying, "You are my salvation. I know you are beside me. You are my salvation. You are my Lord and Savior. You are my salvation." And honestly, that saved me. I was able to remove myself from my body at that point. I prayed for the girls over and over. "Lord, keep them safe. Just keep them safe." I don't, what happens to me at this point doesn't matter as long as they are in safe and my actions weren't in vain. As long as my actions weren't in vain, Lord, keep those girls safe. Don't let anything happen to them, Lord. Please keep them safe. And over and over and over, I just prayed and prayed and prayed. And I was able to get through that time in the cop car, which was a very long time. And I think when you're going through a really bad situation, this is the first time anything like this has ever happened to me. So you don't really know how you're going to react until you're actually going through it. And if you I think that if you let yourself get caught up in it, you let yourself get caught up in yourself, it can go two different ways. But if you take control of yourself, and honestly, you guys, I know this sounds so cliche, but if you give it to him, if you ask him for help, if you concentrate on him and not on your anger and not on your fear and not on what happened, not on what is going to happen and the unknown. It takes me back to stepping stone 1, where I said that God sees your past, your present, and your future. I can't see it. I can only see my past and I can only see my present, but I can't see the future. But he can. He sees it all. He knows what's going to happen. I can't. So all I have to rely on at that point is him. So that's all I relied on. I only focused on him because he can see the whole picture. He can see the entire story. I can't see it. So my eyes are his eyes. I have to stay focused on him. And that's what I did. I saw they moved the police car that I was in over to in front of our house. It was parked going the wrong way on the street, but I was on the passenger side of the car, and there's a barrier in the center, a plexiglass barrier in the center of the back seat of the police cars, and but I could still see in the house. The girls had bags. The police were like going in and out of my house. You guys, that's like the worst feeling, is in a second you have no rights. Your rights, you are stripped of your rights. Suddenly your kids are with strangers. They are in the hands of strangers. Your house is no longer your house. Your belongings are no longer your belongings. Your kids are in the hands of strangers. These strangers are walking in and out of your house. Your kids are getting in vehicles with strangers. These strangers are just walking in and out of your house. You can't have anything. You can't have anything. You're in handcuffs. You're locked in the back of a car. It's a frightening world. It is a frightening world. Now, if you've committed a crime, if you've just robbed somebody, you've just assaulted somebody, you've done some horrible, horrible thing. But when you have done nothing, when you have done literally nothing but protected 2 little girls, it is a terrifying thought that these people can just throw you in handcuffs and take control of your entire life, your children, your home, and just strip you of everything in a second. It's a terrifying, terrifying thing. Your children are now with strangers. There are strangers walking in and out of your house. You have nothing. You have no rights, nothing. Because they have complete control when you have done nothing. Nothing except for protect your children. So I see the girls, and they must have told them to go get their stuff. They put them in. There were like 2 cars up. There was another police car. I'm telling you, the whole Fort Lupton Police Department must have been at my house, and every single officer must have been at my house because they were all over the place. There was like 5. There must have been 5 police cars at my house. They put the girls in another police car. Scott's car took off. No, the girls' car took off. Scott's car took off. My car took off. We all kind of got to the police station at the same time. They took the girls in first because they walked past my car. They took Scott in second. And then they took me in third. So I don't know where they took the girls. They must have took the girls into a room. And then they put Scott in a holding cell because I saw his shoes sitting in front of the holding cell door. And then they took me to the next holding cell, made me take my shoes off, and I had a bracelet on. Made me set my bracelet on top of my flip-flops. And by this time I had to go to the bathroom so bad. I had waited in that police car for so long that actually when I got out of the police car, I actually wet myself a little bit getting out of the police car, just the movement. So I had wet myself a little bit. And so when I got there, I really just needed to go to the bathroom so bad. And the officer that arrested me said, they took the handcuffs off. When they took the handcuffs off, I had to put my hands on my head. And he said, do you want some water? And I said, I really just need a bathroom right now. And he said, there's one in there. So I walked into the cell and he said, I'll take that as a no. And he slammed the door. And it was just all concrete. Like there was just all concrete in there. I must have went to the bathroom like 4 times. It must have all just been from nerves. It was so cold in there. And still, I just sat in there and I prayed. I paced a little bit. And it seemed, again, like forever. I could hear the girls running around. I could hear the police officers playing with the girls. And they were running around. And that was a relief to me because I knew that at that point that they were fine. And that some of the trauma was over for them at that point. You know, at that particular time, I knew that they were okay. And that was a huge relief to me. It was good to hear them laughing, having fun. And they were really having fun, which was music to my ears. I was grateful for the cops that were playing with them. It seemed like they had the run of the police station at that point. I tried to call. I knew Scott was in the cell next to me, but there's cinder blocks. There's cinder block walls. And I tried to yell a couple of times, Scott. I just wanted to tell him that I loved him. I put my hand on a cold slab a couple of times because I knew he was next to me. But he couldn't hear me. But I knew he was there. And you know, I had to wonder, is our family ever going to be back together? What is going on? What is happening? I shed a lot of tears in there. for so many different reasons. I was angry. I was fearful. I was grateful. I know that sounds strange. I was so grateful for Jesus. I was grateful for what he did for me. For what I was enduring was nothing compared to what he endured. But it brought me closer to him. And I felt him. I felt him right beside me. He was right there. He was with me. And he was comforting me. I knew that it was going to be okay. It's hard to find your faith, you guys. It's hard to pull it out, but it's there. It's there. He's with us. He is with us. And then I didn't care. Whatever happens to me, happens to me. I was good. I was good. I knew I was going to the jail. But I knew I was going to be okay. I knew I was going to be okay. So, eventually they came in. They put me on belly chains. I think what they called it. The officer said, the officer that transport you, I guess, is the one that has to put the handcuffs on you because he's the one that's transporting you, I guess is probably the way that it works. Anyways, Perry was there, the arresting officer was there, but he's not the one that put the handcuffs on me. The officer that was transporting me actually put the handcuffs on me, but he said, I'm going to put you in belly cuffs because that way I can cuff you in the front and it's more comfortable because it's a long ride. So he instructed me, you know, on what I have to do to get the belly, and then they put the handcuffs on you in the front so that, you know, when you're sitting in the cop car, the cuffs are in the front of you so that you're not sitting with your arms behind your back, which is very uncomfortable. So he drives up there, and on the way up there, when we got in the car, he's like, if you have any questions or you need to talk about anything, you know, just let me know. He's like, I'll try to answer any questions that you have. I'm stubborn that way. And at that point, the cops were my enemy. They weren't my friends, and I had nothing to say to them. They had taken me away from my home. They had taken my girls away from me. They had taken my girls away from their home, from their warm beds. They were the enemies. They had given them to their unfit mother without question. I had nothing to say to them. So, it's a long drive, like an hour and a half maybe, from Fort Lupton to Greeley. It's a long drive. It rained a little bit on the way up there. Pretty quiet drive. He was dealing with another case that he was going on after he got me up at the jail. Get to the jail, we had to wait to go in because they were booking so many people off Friday night. I mean, you can imagine at that time of night. It had to, oh my gosh, I don't even know what time. It had to be like 1:30 in the morning by this time. And so when I walked in, they sat me on a bench next to this other guy. And then There's all these cops, you know, they're joking, they're having a good time. That's that. Anyways, by the time I got oriented and got situated there, I looked down and I could see my husband on the other bench down a few people. And he looked like he had been through the ringer. He didn't even look up. So he had been inside there, you know, I don't know how much for me. But they're booking people in, and then I watch them book my husband, and they search you and, you know, do all of that right there in front of everybody. And go underneath your bra strap, go, you know, fill up at your crotch and make you take your shoes off and put your clothes in a bag. And they let you get phone numbers out of your phone if you need to. And then they take everything and put it in a bag, and then they walk you back. Take you into a room, ask you what size scrubs you want, or whatever they call their orange jumpsuit things, what size shoes you wear. You have to take off your articles of clothing one piece at a time and hand them to, in my case I had a lady, deputy, hand my articles of clothing to her one piece at a time. She fills through everything to make sure there's no contraband or anything in them. And then you have to face her and put your hands up. She look, you know, you're completely naked. She looks at you, and then you have to turn around with your hands up, and then you have to bend over and touch the floor, or as close to the floor as you can touch. Spread your butt cheeks and cough. Stand up, put your orange jumpsuit on. They throw you your shoes. I had to go to the bathroom really bad, so there's a toilet in there. There's no doors or anything, so she watches you pee. She tells you not to flush. I pee. She looks in the toilet, and then she flushes. There's nowhere to wash your hands. And then I went back out to this carpeted area, and then at that point you can make whatever phone calls you want to make. Well, by this time it's like 2:30 in the morning. So I had gotten two phone numbers out of my phone. 2:30 in the morning. I thought I'll get my brother's phone number, but what can he do? He's all the way in California. Really, there's nobody else family-wise that cares. Like, I don't have anybody else. Of course, I was talking to our friend on the phone when I got arrested, and he happens to be a bail bondsman. So I'm like, okay, well, I need his phone number just in case. I knew that Scott had taken numbers out of his phone because I watched him be booked in. So then there were three other women that were booked in at the same, two other women, there were three of us that were booked in at the same time, and so we walked together, and they told us to grab a mattress. It's like a thin green mattress, and this blanket, like this really thin, like wool, itchy blanket. And they said, grab a blanket and grab a mat. And so you carry it into this holding cell that's all concrete. It has like a bench, a concrete bench, but it was full with other women all around it. And then there were a couple of women on the floor. Well, the only place that we had to put our mats was on the floor. And we kind of put them next to each other. You kind of have like a little, not that we had talked, but you kind of feel like a team because you went in together, I guess. So we put our mats on the floor together. I knew that the one lady would be leaving at 4:30 because her sister was coming out to bond her out. She didn't have to go in front of a judge or anything because it was a warrant for her arrest on a traffic violation that she didn't appear for. So she didn't have to go before a judge. She just had to bond out, and she could do that at 4:30. So I knew that she was getting out. And so I was next to her, and she did indeed. But I knew it was just going to be miserable. It stunk in there. It was cold in there. My mat was wet. I smelled like urine because I had peed myself a little bit. I had left my house so quickly that I didn't even have a chance to take a shower on Friday because I typically do that in the evening when our day is winding down. So I hadn't even had a chance to take a shower on Friday. And I just felt, I mean, being in that situation in the jail anyways, and then everything I'd been through in the back of dirty cop cars and holding cells, and I just felt so disgusting, and it was just, and then being in that dirty place, and there were a lot of drunk women in that holding cell, and it was just like packed with women, and we were in a very small place. It was probably 10 by 6, and there was 10 of us in there. Like we were sardines. And so, and I still didn't really know what was going on. And so I talked to a nurse. She wanted all of my medical history, what medications I was on, all of that. So then I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to be here a while, at least until Monday, right? Because I didn't know that they held court on Saturdays. So I'm thinking, okay, so I'm going to be here for at least a couple nights. So in my mind, I'm like getting okay with it. You know, you just take second by second, moment by moment, and you just prepare yourself to get through it. If you don't, then you're going to go crazy. You don't have a choice. It's either you deal with it or you're going to go crazy. So I was preparing myself just to deal with it, and continuing this whole time to just pray and to ask God to protect those little girls. Just, God, please, you know, I'm okay. Just protect those girls. And I was okay with the situation I was in. I was truly okay with it. I really was okay with it, and telling myself, this in the end will have a purpose. This will have a purpose. For some reason, this is happening for a reason. And you know, something good can come out of it if I choose for it to be that way. You know, I can store all of this anger up and make it worse, or I can use it for good. I can allow God to use this for good. And that's the kind of person I am. If I'm going to use every bad situation for good, that's just the way I am. And I will use this situation, though it was a horrific situation and not one that I would wish on anybody. Not anybody. I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. I wouldn't wish this on the mother of those girls, even though she's the one that put me through this. I don't wish that on her. I truly love my enemies. I love her. I don't want bad things to happen to her. I will use this for good. I refuse to give in to the evil of it. I won't let it consume me. No way. I'm not that easy. I'm not that easy. It just will not happen. No. Nothing you can bring, nothing you could bring upon me will bring me down. It's just not gonna happen. I've been there. It won't happen. I am happy. I am a happy, loving, giving person, and you can't change that. It's not gonna happen. I don't fold. I don't fold. I have Jesus. I have God. Do you know how glorious that is? I don't fold. And I hope you don't fold. So anyways, I put my mat down, and I was freezing the whole time. And part of that is just like the nerves of it all, you know, you're just, the adrenaline and stuff and the coldness, and then when your adrenaline starts to come down, it's just like an uncontrollable, like my legs were just like this uncontrollable shake. I wasn't scared. I wasn't mad. I was just there, you know, I was just there going through the process. But I was cold. I was very cold. And I just couldn't get warm like the whole time. And if you can't get warm, and I had a headache. I still have the headache. I wasn't able to take my medication because I take my medication before I go to bed. So as you know, I take an anti-seizure medication to prevent migraines. And I also take an anti-anxiety medication. So I didn't get to take those that night because I take them before I go to bed. So I didn't have my medications. And I had a headache. I still have a headache from it all. It just goes along with migraines and the stressors that cause the migraines and stuff. And just lack of sleep and that kind of stuff, which I have been able to catch up on sleep, but it's more here and there. I mean, I'm still worried about the trauma that the girls have. They don't need any more trauma in their life. Like, honestly, this was such unnecessary trauma on their part. They could have had a great weekend of meeting their mom at the park and spending some quality time with her in that way. This wasn't quality time. This is honestly very, very unnecessary on her part. I mean, the trauma that it caused. I don't understand who would put their kids through what they went through. I'm having a hard time. But you know, everybody sees themselves as a victim. So I'm trying to see that. I'm trying to see. It's hard for us to put ourselves in that place, but I'm trying. I understand. In a way, but the part that I don't understand is putting little girls that have been through so much in their lives to continually put them in a situation that causes them more trauma. I'll never understand parenting like that. I can try and try, but at this point in my life, you know, maybe when I was younger, I could see that side more, but having the experience of life and have gone through a lot of it, now I can't put myself there. I can't put myself on that side of the coin because of my experiences and being their grandma, and maybe seeing through the looking glass with different eyes at my age. Wisdom, I guess, is the only thing that comes to mind when I think of it all. And I can't give wisdom to somebody else. It's something that they have to gain. So, sorry. So, nonetheless, it wasn't a pleasant night, but I got through it. Lots of prayer. I talked to the pre-bond, some lady that was like pre-bond. She worked for the courts, I think. It wasn't for the jail. And it was just like a pre-question, you know, have you ever been arrested before? Have you ever been in jail? Blah, blah, blah. And all the answers were no. I've never been arrested. No, I've never been in jail. This was like a first-time experience, which was good for me because then it showed the DA and the judge, you know, that I'm not a bad person. And so then they told me, well, you're going to go to court at 8 a.m. So I did. I mean, they put shackles on your feet, you know, the chain shackles. You go upstairs into the courtroom. There's a galley with witnesses, so there's a bunch of people that are going before the judge. There's the witnesses, family maybe of the inmates, people in the galley. You're instructed not to look in the galley, I guess because of witness intimidation or whatever. I had no idea who was in the galley. I looked over a couple of times, you know, just out of curiosity, but I didn't stare or anything. I didn't want to get in trouble by the court. So I was like the fourth maybe person that they called up to the bench, and the judge asked me if, you know, they could tell you that anything that you say can and could, you know, will be used against you. There's a DA there, the judge, and then the lady that did the pre-bond questions, and then of course the deputy sheriffs from the jail, all the other inmates, people in the gallery that can hear you. There's a wall, a barrier, and they can hear you through speakers. And there was an advocate there with the mother, the girl's mother, which I was surprised, I guess, that she was there. You would think after going through all this, she'd want to spend time with her daughters. But nonetheless, she was there, and an advocate was there with her from my city's police department. And she wanted to keep the girls, because now suddenly she has fears that the girls are with us. Suddenly, since we have concerns and fears of the girls being with her, now she has fears and concerns with the girls being with us. Strange, isn't it? And she wants a restraining orders on behalf of the girls and doesn't want the girls returned to us, because now she's fearful for the girls, and tells the courts that the girls had a rough night. Really? Sorry, I don't mean to be sarcastic. She hasn't been able to get the girls to sleep all night long because they were told that they would never see her again. And I did just that. I shook my head. The thing that upsets me is that I don't lie. I don't lie. I would never tell those girls that. I can't tell you the number of people that have said to me, those girls shouldn't see their mother. We have all the confidence that everything is going to be resolved, and that this is actually going to turn out to be a good thing. And in the end, it's all gonna make us all stronger and closer. And if I can share anything with you from this, it is never allow your fear to overcome your faith. Don't let it. Don't let your fear conquer you. You're stronger than that. You're stronger than any of that. Your God is stronger than that. My God is stronger than that. Take comfort in Him. He was there for me. He's there for us now, and He won't let go. Don't let go of him, and he won't let go. He's there. I'm telling you guys, it is a strong, strong relationship. And people and situations don't like that bond. They don't like it, and they will do whatever they can. They will do whatever they can to weaken it. Don't let them. Don't let them do it. Because the more that happens to you, and the more times that rope gets nicked at, the stronger it becomes. The mending of that rope makes it stronger and stronger and stronger. It's like a tree. Each year that tree grows, it gets a new ring around the trunk. You can see the life of the tree, the number of years the tree has lived, by the number of circles within its trunk. That's what the strength of your relationship with God is. Each year, or each thing that happens to you, you gain another circle of strength around your trunk. So each event in our lives that happens, or each year that we have this relationship building with God, our trunk gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And the stronger it gets, the harder it is for somebody to come and knock us down. You can't knock me down. And the more you try, the more you try, the more you try, the stronger my trunk becomes. So glory to God. Have faith. Have faith. Get your strength from him. All things are possible through God. It's so true. I lived it. I've lived it. I lived it Friday night. And here I am. I'm back in my home. You know, so many people think that they can't come out of a situation and can't be stronger on the other end of it. And you can. You can come out of any situation and be stronger at the end. And I'm sitting here. I'm living proof that you can come out of a situation and be stronger in the end. I am stronger today than I was on Friday. It's only been not even 48 hours. I got home yesterday after 1 p.m. It's been barely over 24 hours, and I am sitting here telling you that I am stronger now than I was. I endured a lot, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it wasn't traumatizing, because it was. I just told you the story. It was traumatizing. It was awful. I wouldn't wish it on anybody. I wouldn't wish it on the person that put me in this situation. But I'm here. I'm okay. I'm stronger because of it. My strength doesn't come from me. My strength comes from him. So some people, you know, have told me you are such a strong person to even be strong enough to tell that officer to issue the warrant, that you stood up for those little girls like that. You know, how can you be so brave? You're so brave. How are you so brave? I'm brave because I have Jesus in my life, and I get my strength from him. I'm weak. You guys have no idea how weak I really am. I'm a weak person. I get my strength from him. It's amazing what he can do for us. It really is amazing. what he can do for us. He tells me when I need to be weak, and he tells me when I need to be strong. And I needed to be strong on Friday. There are moments when I'm weak, where I don't have it in me, when I don't have the fight. There are times. There are times when I have to be soft. There are times when I don't get the feeling that when I need to fight certain situations, where I sit back and I don't fight it. You know, those are my weak moments. Why am I weak at those times? I don't know. I don't feel the fight in me. I don't feel that it's necessary. And then there are times where I come out and I fight like a bull. And Friday I fought like a bull. Where did that come from? I don't know where that come from. I assume it came from God, where he told me to, Kim, this is it. This is your time to fight. I am standing beside you and you have to fight. I put those little girls in your hand for you to fight. Nobody else would fight for them. You are going to fight, and you are going to stand up and you are going to fight now. And I fought. I did what I was supposed to do. I don't know where that came from, because honestly, that's not like me. But when it comes to those little girls, I will fight. I fight every single time for those little girls. There are situations where people have said, don't let them go, don't let them go, don't let them go. And I haven't fought. But when that dog bite happened and I looked in Haley's little face and I saw those wounds on her face, and I saw the scarring that was going to happen to that little girl's face, something told me, this is a warning. This is a warning, and it's time for you to fight. And the fight came out. It's about listening to that inner you. That inner you speaks to you. Where does that inner you come from? I think that inner you is God. I think that is the voice. That inner voice is God saying, this is the time. This is the fork in the road for you. Does he give us warnings? I believe so. I believe that maybe that dog bite was a warning for maybe something greater that could have come, or that is to come, something that maybe my actions are going to be the prevention of something that, God forbid, bad that may have happened or may be coming. I don't know, but I have to fight. I have to fight for them. There's something telling me inside of me saying, Kim, you have to fight. This is the time. Bring the fight. And that's what I'm going to do. Until my last dying breath, I have to fight for those little girls. If I don't do it, who is going to do it? Is their mother going to do it? No, she's the one putting them in the danger. Is their father going to do it? No, he hasn't. To this day, he hasn't. He hasn't proven to want to fight. I wish I had the answers. He does. God does. God sees our past, he sees our present, and he sees our future. All I can do is to live in the present. I can only see what I'm given right now in the present, and that's what I have to work with. And my faith comes from him. I have to have faith in him, and I do. I have complete faith in him. He is guiding me in the direction because he can see the future. He knows what's happening, and I have to trust in him, and that is what I'm doing. I'm trusting in him. Thank you, guys. I love you. I appreciate you. Just please keep the prayers. Keep the prayers for those two little girls. They're the ones that are suffering through this. They're the ones that need the prayers. They don't need any more upset in their life. They have been through it. There is one person in this world that has caused the upsets in their life. One person is responsible for all of these upsets in their lives. Pray for her. Sincerely pray for her. I don't want them not to have a relationship with their mom. That is their mom. She loves them. They love her. I don't want that relationship to not be. That wouldn't be right. I love her because she brought them into this world. I love you. I'll fight for that relationship between you and your daughters. I will never take that away from them. I will never take a relationship with their mother away from them. Know that. And I'm praying for you. And I forgive you. And I love you. From the deepest part of my heart, I love you. And I forgive you.